those icebergs, these icebergs, looking at all of you in your icebergs, and I always laugh because I know we're not cold and freezing and rigid. We're all these expansive, vibrant with life icebergs. So today our focus is going to be on expanding our experience of the iceberg. And I'm looking around at all of you here, and I'm pretty sure that we're all very familiar with the iceberg metaphor, which is really a metaphor for a human being and gives us a map to guide our exploration and our curiosity about our inner experience and what's going on underneath the waterline for us personally and for others. And we can just be really, it just gives us a wider expanse of how we experience ourselves. So today we're looking at expanding our ideas. And even looking around, if you've got it on gallery view, you can look around and see just how unique each one of us is. We're all so complex, and we also have a lot of similarities. So just embracing the uniqueness that you are and embracing our uniqueness. Sometimes we might feel different or left out or alone, and just knowing that we have more in common, even in our uniqueness, we do. So, and even emotionally, we have the capacity for so many feelings, and our thoughts can be all over the map. So we can be curious and appreciate our complexity. So looking at this question of how do you experience yourself, we're going to expand, we're going to look at a few different prototypes of icebergs here. So this iceberg, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and we come into the world in these bodies. We have this physiology, which really is just a wealth of wisdom and information and storing memories and experience. And all of our iceberg experience comes through and can be experienced in our bodies. And often we only pay attention to our bodies when we're in need, or a lot of people only pay attention when they're in need, if I'm hungry, or if I'm tired, or if I'm in pain. And so just inviting you to, what is the experience of your body when you are full and satiated after a good meal? Or what is your experience of your body when you're feeling healthy, when you're energized, full of life? So having more intentional and conscious awareness of our body experience. And then of course we can be, how do I experience my behaviors, and how do we experience our survival, our patterns of survival coping, that can we be aware when we go into our coping, and can we notice that what's happening in our experience? I'm not going to sort of reteach the iceberg, but just to just get you thinking and contemplating about my experience and all my feelings. We teach that our feelings belong to us. We know that our feelings belong to us, but we don't always really know that or own that our feelings belong to us. Sometimes they become way too big, and we become, I am so sad, or I am so angry, rather than I have sadness and I have anger. So just sitting with, how am I experiencing my emotions? And how am I judging those emotions? Like, what feelings come up when I have these feelings? And we can be aware of our experience and our perceptions. How do we experience our expectations? And can we notice when they're not being met, but can we really dive into what that's about for us? And then of course, our experience of our yearnings. How do we go about fulfilling our yearnings in each moment? Even right now, as you're sitting here, just notice, what yearnings are you meeting in this moment? As we connect with each other, as we come together to share ideas and to share more deeply, or how you choose to share with each other. And then there's our experience of our self, our life energy, our life force, the essence of who we are and how we nourish or don't nourish that part of us. So we're going to explore a little bit here. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I know some of you take notes or have journals or have paper in front of you. And if you do that, I would invite you to just draw 4 icebergs right now. And I have a PowerPoint for those of you who don't take notes, so I'll show you that too. So just draw, in 4, divide your paper in 4 and draw 4 iceberg shapes. And we're gonna look at, ways that people experience themselves in their iceberg. So the first one, you can write suffering. And we'll look a little bit more at this in a moment. I'm just going to give you the 4 captions for each iceberg first. So there's suffering. On the second iceberg, I invite you to write survival. And on the third one, in charge of my experience. And then the fourth one, create your own reality. So you can see we move from suffering to survival to being in charge to creating our own reality. Most of our clients, when they come to us, they're in their suffering. Something's going on, whether it's pain, physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, mental pain. And when we're going to look at each one. So let's look at this iceberg of suffering. So with suffering, the pain is so enmeshed with identity. It's like, I am so depressed. I am so anxious. And there's a lack of sort of distinction. There's a lack of connection with the I am, even though the self is always there. I mean, survival is about life energy pushing towards survival and growth and thriving. But when people are in their suffering and that becomes part of their identity, a lot of our clients sometimes start out in that place of suffering. And then let's look at survival, because survival, a lot of people are in survival mode a lot of the time. And that's really when we get into our sort of patterns of coping, ways that we survive and cope when under stress. And survival is a really good thing because the alternative to survival isn't very good. So survival is coming from these beautiful resources in our coping that come from our life energy, the resource for compassion and for assertiveness and all of that. But when we're in our coping, we are not fully in our life energy or fully thriving and growing. So these placating, blaming, super reasonable, irrelevant, and more are ways that we try to be safe in our relationships. A lot of our clients, they're in their suffering, tapping into how are we surviving? And we can even ask ourselves, how often am I in survival mode? And how often am I in congruent or feeling happy? When do you experience happiness and joy? Because it's not like we don't always have to be in survival. Some people are in survival more than others, but we can even be curious, like, am I in my survival at this moment? Or how am I experiencing me? What is my life energy telling me that I need to add in or that I need to let go of? And then moving to the next iceberg, which is what we work on with our clients and with ourselves, is being in charge of my experience, helping people move to owning their experience. And knowing that if it's my experience, I can be more in charge of what I want to change or how I want to change. So it becomes my behaviors and my feelings. My feelings belong to me. My patterns of coping that I learned from when I was very little. I can recognize when I'm in my coping, and I can even tap into my resources for shifting that and reconnecting with the core of who I am, my life energy and universal wisdom, universal energy. My feelings about feelings and my perceptions, my expectations, my yearnings, which are universal, but I can be in charge of how I go about meeting my yearnings. And my yearnings for me, like how do I meet my yearning for love, for loving myself better, loving others better, connecting with myself better, connecting with others better, and then nourishing my spirit, being in charge of how do I intentionally connect with my spirit each day, each moment when I notice myself discombobulated or disconnected. So when we're learning, moving from suffering to survival to now owning and being in charge of my experience, we want to take it a little bit further, or a lot further, actually, not just a little bit further. And we want to move to iceberg 4, creating your reality. So sitting with that, what does that mean? Creating my reality. Infinite possibilities, even within limitations. No matter what's going on around you, no matter what your life circumstances are, there are always infinite possibilities if we open ourselves up and allow ourselves to be curious and sit with the question of what's possible. Creating your reality, some of the attributes where that comes from is love and connection and belonging. And when we're talking about love, universal love, not conditional love, unconditional love. Creating our reality comes from a place of, I am life energy. Can you just sit in that and just own, I am life energy. I am connected to all the resources that I need within me and from the universe. Yeah, so the question is, how can we learn to have a new experience? Fully embracing life and experiencing yourself. Looking at these icebergs again, in summary, iceberg 1, we are fully absorbed in our suffering when we're in iceberg 1. I and my pain become one. With iceberg 2, we have something that we're dealing with, that we're surviving. And remember, survival is a good thing. We have a natural drive to grow and to thrive. And if we don't survive, there's no opportunity for growth. So survival is important. We need to survive. And with iceberg 3, we move into growth. There's more, we're more in charge. And with iceberg 4, we're in our life energy. We're in our soul energy, moving from being in charge to creating your own reality. So I want us to look at ways to be in iceberg 4 more, because that is the invitation. Ways to move into iceberg 4. Gratitude. Gratitude is much deeper than just acceptance. It's moving from accepting, appreciating, celebrating, and then moving into a deeper place of gratitude. And can we practice gratitude and be more intentional about what we're grateful for? It's in Canada, it's Thanksgiving this weekend, a time where we practice giving thanks? And can we make that part of our daily routine, having gratitude? And connecting with unconditional universal love is another way that we can move into iceberg 4. You know, loving not necessarily loving what people are doing, but can you love for who they are at their essence? Can you love yourself for who you are at your essence? That unconditional universal love. And the practice of compassion, compassion for self and compassion for others. The energy of gratitude, love, and compassion, all those three energies really can help us move into that iceberg 4. So I want to encourage you all just spend some time each day moving into these places of gratitude, love, and compassion. Even like think of somebody who you want to appreciate, and even in your mind, you know, sending an energy of gratitude and appreciation, or taking it a step further and actually expressing your gratitude and appreciation to someone. Okay, how are we doing for time? So here's some questions for you, and then I want to close this up. So you can take a screenshot of these questions if you'd like, or write them down. As we move into breakout rooms, just share with each other, what are you hearing about these 4 icebergs, and what's resonating with you? And then how do I experience myself in these icebergs? What are some of the ways that you cultivate gratitude, love, and compassion in your life? And then what is the reality that I would like to create for myself? And how will I do that?